So Tom and Bruce, now that we've gotten a client to sign us up and sign a statement of work, what should they expect before we actually launch the project?
I think it's a great question, and I think it's something that I think is really important to talk about. I mean, I think that what you need to expect is you are launching transformation, and you're bringing us in, and we are going to be a full force multiplier, and we're going to hold everybody accountable to what you asked us to do. That includes the CEO and the executive team being available and supporting and being involved in making this a top priority. But I also think it's preparing yourself for the resistance of and challenges of driving change for things like this. I think that you're going to have people wonder why you're bringing in a consulting firm and is that they don't trust us at the leadership level, or is it that they're going to be that we are I screwed that up. Edit that. We're gonna come in and we're gonna do things that are going to be a change, and there's going to be challenges around people and feeling defensive or accountable because we're working with you in the leadership team. But I think it's also important to recognize the importance of change, right, and how people view that, and how important it is that you have to hold the line and lead top down and walk the walk. And I think,
One other thing, let me just add on. One of the things that you should expect is we are different than any other firm out there because we really focus on the culture part and how a company makes decisions. That ties to how long something's going to take, how complicated it's going to take. Is it a culture of meeting before the meeting? You have the meeting, then you have a meeting after the meeting, then you finally make a decision. Or is it top-down, center-led decision making, and there's only one person that makes a decision? Those are extreme challenges. And if you don't recognize those up front and don't understand how we need to engage together, then it's going to be a very rocky road, and we avoid that at all cost. And so that's one of the key things up front that we have to get aligned on how that works.
Well, and I like what your point there is. You need to be expecting to make decisions and to move fast, and that's the hard part at the end of the day, is the leadership team and others making decisions and knowing that you're going to be making decisions up front when you have the least amount of information and you have the biggest decisions to make. So it's an inverted model where the biggest decisions are made with the least amount of information, and everybody's nervous about what that means for them and their career, and we're still getting to know each other.
Just one more point really on that, making decisions. One thing that also sets us apart is we don't have to be continuous. We start and then we end on a date. A lot of times in these projects, as you guys know, there has to be soak time for the client. You had it when we worked together.
Right.
Tom, go away for a couple weeks and let me digest and go through the rest of the organization. Our model allows that. We do that, and we build that in, and most firms, you can't say all, most firms don't do that. And shooting to a date, especially when things are very complicated, whether it's an assessment up front or putting together some kind of a roadmap or something, you can't force that.
No, and I think both of you talked about a lot of the things that differentiate us, but don't want to overlook the fact that we're going to really understand what kind of team we're going to need to have on the ground, what types of communications are needed throughout the organization. Some of that can be emails, and other needs to be one-on-ones to bring the team along. We're going to make sure that we do our homework and make sure that we have a project plan and set expectations and do all those other things. So, we're going to get the basics right. The other thing that I kind of take a look at, and I'm going to use a golf acronym, PGA, it's posture, grip, and alignment. So the first part, posture, is into those discussions about how is decisions made, you know, what's the attitude of the organization towards this change? Because you can have everything from very resistant to passive aggressive to extremely enthusiastic. So understanding where the organization is on posture. Anything else that you guys want to add for that?
Well, I think it's important. I like where you're going with that, and I think it's important when, you know, what to expect is we're going to look at your readiness, not just from the deliverable and what we have signed up to deliver from our view. We're going to really look at it from what's it going to take for this to be successful from your point of view. And I think that's a different part that's very challenging because, you know, you're looking at people, you're looking at roles, you're looking at gaps.
They have day jobs.
They have day jobs, and you've got to lay that out. And oftentimes when you start one of these projects, everybody's like, okay, let's start. What have we gotten done? We should be moving faster. Where are we? This is taking too long. But as you said, it is important that you understand where you are today in order to plan to get where you need to be tomorrow. And you know, it's true because I know we go through that. We put a date out there and you shoot for a date. But the project's the project, the work is the work, and the date's not what people remember. People remember the quality and they remember the results. And they forget if it was a little over or it took a little, you know, in budget or it took a little longer. And that's the part up front is I think you have to expect to take the time to educate your team and allow them to get comfortable within the parameters of the timeline we're up for. But you gotta get them to buy in. And that's hard, just like you gotta get the leadership team and the political agendas as you talked about. Some companies it's real easy. Some companies it's family and family businesses and it's top down, you know, it's very much command and control. There's other businesses where it's highly political environments where people are doing all kinds of things behind the scenes that are difficult. And you know, you've gotta, we're gonna tell you that, but we're gonna expect you to have to deal with that. And you've gotta trust, you know, that you've hired the right people to come in and play that role from day one.
So grip.
Yeah. So grip it is, you know, how tightly do we control the project or how loosely, right? So we're here to support the client's success. The ideal situation is, you know, there's a client champion and there's lots of good momentum going into, this is pre-kickoff, right? So we're talking to them. So we need to adjust, you know, how strong do we need to be going into this? So how tight of a grip or how loose of a grip that we're going to do so that the outcome is achieved.
And I think that ties to the, you know, the outcome / value, I'll look at it. Mm-hmm. It can't be in our eyes. Yeah. Too many times in my 30 plus years, value was always defined by somebody else other than the client. And so there was always a misalignment on really what is that outcome and what the value is in their eyes so that we can align to it.
Yeah, and then, you know, the last piece, of course, is alignment, making sure that we are aligned with the objectives, the value proposition as defined by the client. And with those three components, posture, grip, and alignment, I think that's one of the things that really separates us, is we take all that into consideration prior to having a kickoff meeting with the team.